Hi there, welcome to BB True Crime.
I am Becky, and that is Beth.
So, for anyone, and honestly, we're on episode 11, so you really should know the drill by now. Anyone who's only just started listening, we do true crime. Granted, we don't commit the crimes. Just want to clarify.
We can dream, though. A girl can dream.
I
can dream.
Okay. So we're two best friends. Becky does criminology. I just really like murders. Yeah.
It's the trauma. Move on.
Yeah, and I tell Becky cases, not just of murder, but of true crime. And yeah, we just chat shit.
Yeah?
So.
And occasionally, I use the things she teaches me in my courses.
Exactly. Useful.
Yeah, exactly.
And
not to mention the fact that it's entertaining to see men suffer.
It is. And you know what? I just like talking about true crime.
We know, honey, you're a nerd. You can move on.
That's alright. So, we're on episode 11. If you didn't tune into our last episode, you really should, because it was great. Special episode. We finally hit episode 10.
I was traumatized after that one.
Yeah, me too a little bit.
That took me a little while to recover from. She was like, 4 days later, she was like, let's record another one. I was like, let's not.
Still recovering.
Nope.
But you should definitely check that out.
It's a good episode. By far one of my favourites, I think.
Yeah, that would, same. So, that is on Spotify if you wish to watch it. Listen, even. So, today, episode 11, we are covering the case, and I am going to put a warning on now, because it's going to get a bit gruesome, of James Bulger.
God.
Oh, yeah, we're diving right in.
And this is the sound of me leaving the room and letting her do this one on her own.
And Becky will sit right there.
Oh, God.
So, obviously, if you live in the UK, no doubt you've at least heard the very basics of this case. Kid gets murdered by the kids. This
kid was abducted by the kids and then tortured and murdered by the kids.
Literally, yes. If you want a synopsis there, yeah.
That's pretty. It's a pretty succinct way of.
It is.
Describing it. This is one of those unfortunate cases where I can't seem to get away with it because my undergrad it got brought up because kids.
Yeah.
And this year it got brought up because crime.
Yeah. But it was a big deal, obviously, here in England.
Huge.
Not just, because it was a kid getting murdered by the kids, but, it changed the whole age of criminal responsibility.
It did. Yeah, it changed the whole way we dealt with kids.
It did. It changed it from what was 12 in the UK to 10.
I thought it was 14 in the UK to 10. Is it 12?
Yeah, I think it was 12.
I thought it was 14.
Yeah, but now it's at 10.
Which, I would just like to say, even the US.
It's higher than that, yeah. I think, is it 18?
We are the second on the bottom of the table for age of responsibility. There's only one country that has one lower than us.
Why, what's that?
Do you know, for life of me, I can't remember. I remember reading about it when I was researching. And I think there's only one country, and it's 6.
Yeah, I think, that rings a bell.
And then the next is the UK at 8, and I was like,
10.
10. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But you know what? We're going to delve into it. And if you're still wanting to hear about it, join us. Yeah. So.
Still looking for another request, just in case anybody wants to drop one in there.
I mean, my mum will be featuring on an episode on my birthday, so tune in for that one.
We do. Special guest, our first one.
My mama. Alright, so.
The OG crime specialist.
Oh, literally, yeah. So, would you prefer me to call him James or Jamie? Actually, my brother's called Jamie. I'm going to call him James. James. Okay, so.
I'm so glad we worked through that one.
Yes. James Patrick Bulger.
Oh, Patrick.
He was born on the 16th of March, 1990.
He was born a little bit after you.
Yeah, in March, not in 1990, because I'm a late 90s baby.
Yeah, I know, but I was just thinking your birthday's early March.
It is. He was only 3 when he died. So I'm just going to get that out of the way with. So yeah, he was killed on the 12th of February, 1993. Actually, he wasn't even 3, he was 2. Let that sink in for a moment. A 2-year-old.
I'm not sure I want that to sink in.
Yeah, he was almost 3. a month before his birthday.
I was about to say, at least he saw 1,000 days.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
No.
No, he didn't.
Not
He
even
barely
a
saw
little bit.
700.
Yep. So, he was from Kirkby in Merseyside in England. Just have no idea where that is, honestly. I don't
I'm not
do
even
geography. I don't.
Honey, you don't know what the name at the bottom of our street is.
Yeah, I've no idea. He was abducted, tortured, and murdered by two 10-year-old boys called Robert Thompson and John Venables on the 12th of February.
Venables. Possibly two of the most villainized characters in this century.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, let's take it from the beginning.
Oh, right at the beginning. Yay.
So, the CCTV footage, which was like the most famous CCTV footage in like the
Everybody
UK.
saw that.
Yeah.
It was plastered all over the news.
And newspapers and everything, yeah.
Freeze frames.
So, CCTV at the New Strands shopping centre in Bootle, I get no idea where that is, was taken on February 12th, 1993. And it showed Thompson and Venables observing children in the shopping centre. And apparently they were selecting a target to abduct. The boys were truant from school, obviously, which is apparently something they did very regularly. I was truant a lot from school, but, I haven't murdered any 2-year-olds.
Truant? What was...
truant is when you miss school on purpose. You pretend to be sick, that kind of thing. You don't go to school.
I was never...
Oh, I was just, they just stopped messaging us because I just didn't turn up.
My mother drove me to school, so if I wasn't frog marched to the gates, I was dying.
Oh, my mum did literally not care if I went or not, as long as I did the exams and stuff. So, throughout the day, Thompson and Venables were seen stealing as well. But nothing very, huge, just, small things like sweets, batteries, a troll doll. Remember when there was a thing?
Troll? Oh,
Troll,
the little... Oh,
the things with the hair.
God, the little floofies.
Yeah.
They made the film out of it recently, didn't they?
I've never seen it. I don't plan to.
It's terrifying.
Okay. And they also stole a can of blue paint.
Fair.
So, yeah. Just so you know, several of these items were in fact used in the murder. Yeah, you're welcome. So, one of the boys later revealed, when being obviously interrogated, that they had in fact, it was premeditated, and they had in fact been planning to go there for the sole purpose of abducting a child to kill.
Wow.
Their original plan was for when they had a child, they were either going to push them onto oncoming traffic or into the nearby canal. Both of which they did not do.
Yeah, no, I don't remember any of those.
No. It's still pretty horrific, though.
Not to mention the fact that, the chances of him actually drowning in a canal were high, but the chances of him being killed by oncoming traffic, not crippled, were low.
Yeah. And the thing is, something you have to keep reminding yourself in this one is that
They're 10.
They're 10.
They're planning whether to drown him in the canal or throw him into oncoming traffic.
That's insane. To be fair, there is not much at all about their early lives, so I can't even tell you what could have, spurred this on.
Which is strange, because normally early lives are the first thing that gets thrown in there.
Yeah, but it's going to be hard for you to find anything.
Normally the first 20 minutes of this is you telling me how the killers grew up.
Yeah, exactly, but there's, nothing.
Wild.
But then again, the whole thing is very,
Hush, hush.
It is, yeah,
Deep
so...
enough. They live under protection now in different countries, don't they?
Yes, but we will get into that.
Okay.
So, around 3:40 in the afternoon, Denise, who is James's mum, had let go of James's hand to pay for her shopping.
Oh, that was her first mistake.
It was then, literally just minutes later, she realised he was missing. So they were fast.
They were
about
in
it.
there.
They were straight in there. And they had to have been close by as well when you think about it.
Quite possible they were following them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Obviously, Thompson and Venables then approached James,
Mm.
took him by the hand, and then led him out of the shopping centre. Which is
I
obviously
remember that because I remember
the
there's that
famous
image
picture.
of the two kids holding
Yeah.
each other hand and walking him out.
And that moment was caught on CCTV at 3:42. So 2 minutes later, they were seen exiting. So from 3:40, where she let go of his hand, they were out of the shopping centre by 3:42.
Seconds.
That is
When
wild.
they were gone.
Yeah, and the boy was gone. So that's fucking fast.
Jesus. They bounced out of there, didn't they?
They really did. Thompson and Venables took Bulger to Leeds.
Yay!
Which it was actually the Leeds and Liverpool Canal.
I used to live near that canal.
Yeah, and it's apparently a quarter of a mile from the shopping centre where they took him. And it's there. And I'm just, again, going to give a warning now, because, again, you've got to remember, first of all, these are 2 10-year-old boys doing this to a child.
2-year-old boy?
To a 2-year-old, yeah. So, it was at this canal where they dropped him on his head, and that was his first injuries. He suffered injuries to his face from that. The boys then joked about, pushing him into the canal, and then they were like, I want to spice it up a bit. Yeah, exactly. Several eyewitnesses actually saw them with the boy, but no one intervened. They even had gone into several shops with him, and no one intervened.
What?
Even though people said they thought it was suspicious. Yeah. Any one of them could have stepped in, but no one did.
That's baffling, that is.
Yeah. An eyewitness also said that he saw Bulger at the canal and the boy was crying his eyes out.
And obviously, he didn't
no, he didn't, no.
Okay.
2 witnesses actually did approach them, but the boys claimed that Bulger was their brother and that he was lost, and they were taking him to a police station and they let him go. They let him go with them.
Just for reference, my face is just pure befuddlement. This is I'm speechless. I have very responsible cousins, okay? Frequently they are proclaimed to be more adult than I am. One of them's 18 and I would not trust her to go to a police station on her own.
Yeah. I wouldn't go there on my own. And I'm 23.
I'm but if she was like, I'm going to take this kid to the police station, I'd be like, no, you and me are going to take this kid to the police
surely
station.
You would expect an adult of some kind to be there.
I'm baffled.
Yeah, I know. Or at least ring them. Get them to come to you. It was at this point that they were like, right, we need to do something with him now.
Too much attention.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they led him up to a steep bank to a railway line, which unfortunately would be the last place he was ever alive. And this was near the Walton and Anfield railway station.
Oh, yay.
So I'm about to go into some pretty brutal torture of a 2-year-old, so I'm going to give you a last reminder of...
Things are about to get VV sad up in this joint.
It's going to get horrific. So warning. So...
Trigger warning.
One of the boys threw... So you remember the blue paint?
Yeah.
Yeah, they threw the blue modern paint, which they'd stolen earlier, into his left eye. They kicked him, stamped on him, threw bricks and stones at him. They placed the batteries in Bulger's mouth.
Oh.
And according to police, they inserted some batteries into James's anus.
Oh.
But they also then removed them. None were found inside of the child.
Small mercies.
Well, the boys then also dropped a 10 kilogram, which is probably almost like the least I could lift, railway fish plate onto him. He sustained...
Well, that's internal damages and broken ribs, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. 10 skull fractures, as well as the bar striking his head. A pathologist stated that James suffered so many injuries, 42 in total. Yeah.
What the
on that small body, yeah. That none could be seen as what was the fatal blow, because there were just that many injuries on the boy. They can't determine what it was.
Actually was the cause of death. Besides being brutalised by 2 10-year-olds.
Yeah. Thomas and then Venables then laid Bulger across the train tracks.
Oh.
And they weighed his head down with rubble in hopes that a train would hit him and that his death would be ruled an accident.
Psychopathy.
Yeah, I know. These 10-year-old boys, yeah.
What the
After they left the scene, obviously, by this point, James was dead. His body was, in fact, cut in half by a train.
Well, I didn't know that bit.
Yeah.
Shit.
James's severed body was then discovered by some schoolboys 2 days later.
I'm sorry, was it discovered by the train driver who zip-locked him?
Nope. 2 schoolboys.
Wow.
Ages unknown.
I wouldn't want my age known if I discovered that. I'd be in therapy.
Yeah, they probably are.
Therapy, I'd be in an institution.
Yeah. A forensic pathologist then testified that, obviously, like I said, he was dead before he was hit by the train, which is at least something. So the police suspected that the boys also sexually assaulted James.
10!
Because they found his shoes, socks, trousers, and underpants had been removed. The pathologist's report, which actually was read out in court, found that James's foreskin had actually been forcibly pulled back as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's 2!
Yeah.
Oh.
So, torture scene done.
Oh, praise Jesus.
I know, yeah. So, this is the police now finding out it's the boys.
Okay, alright, this is the bit I can get behind.
Yeah. So the police obviously then found the CCTV from the shopping centre very quickly. And it turns out that a woman, upon seeing the picture on the news, recognised Venables. And she knew that he had been through it from school with Thompson that day. So she contacted the police and then the boys were arrested.
Yes, boys.
So, pretty fast arrest.
I mean, for all that they're psychopaths, or their behaviour is, they're not criminal masterminds.
No, but they had still planned it.
They had planned it. That is absolutely true, yes. But the thing is they planned and committed this incredibly heinous act without very much caring attention to evidence because they're 10.
And the aftermath, yeah.
And the aftermath because, they're 10 years old.
They did the thing they set out to do.
You're still
they didn't think about after.
Learning consequences of actions at that age.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they already knew it was right or wrong. That was the whole argument about lowering the age.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, the witnesses would come up to him, be like, why is he crying? And they would lie because they knew.
But what they would said was wrong.
Yeah. And what they were going to do was wrong.
Oh.
So...
The basics of right and wrong.
Yeah, no. So forensic tests confirmed that both boys had... so they really did not think about the after. They both had the same blue paint on their clothing still, which was obviously found on his body.
Mm-hmm.
They both had his blood on their shoes. The blood on Thompson's shoe matched James's, obviously.
Yeah.
A pattern of bruising on James's right cheek matched the upper part of a shoe worn by Thompson from the stomping. A paint mark in the toe cap of one of Venables' shoes
linked him.
Yep, and it showed that he must have used quite brutal force when stomping on James.
Yeah.
So the boys were then each charged with the murder.
Good.
On the 20th of February. Up to 500 protesters gathered at the magistrate court during their court appearances.
Controversial, man. It's 10-year-old boys.
It was a very controversial case, yeah. The parents of Venables and Thompson had to be moved to different parts of the country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they were also given new identities.
Good.
Because they were receiving death threats.
I'm behind that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm not one for believing about intrinsic evil in people. But, you know,
something must have happened there.
Yeah, and by all accounts, parents of both of the boys were completely law-abiding, normal people. Like, there was nothing funky about them.
From what we know, anyway.
From what we know, obviously. So yeah, from my point of view, I'm completely behind that because, like, you know, we all know, like, from like school shooter parents, that the fallout for the shooter is often less than the fallout for the parents.
Yeah, because most of the time the shooters in those kind of cases will
either commit suicide or go straight to a life sentence in prison. Whereas the parents have to stay behind in that
and
town.
they get most of the shit.
They do, yeah. So I'm completely behind them getting the hell out of Dodge and getting new lives because Jesus Christ, that was traumatic.
They were very and still are supportive of their children. So
I mean, I can't comment on that. I'm not a parent. I mean, I remember my mum saying that, like, there was very little I would do that she wouldn't support me on. She would always love me, but
maybe that would be the point.
She would have to question the conscience of what I did if I did something like that, because obviously we also discussed true crime, and I remember asking her like that. I was like, if I turned out to be a serial killer, what would your reaction be? And so hence this conversation came about.
So, a full trial started on the 1st of November.
Okay.
And it was immediately conducted as an adult trial, even though they were 10. The boys actually denied the charges.
That's not great.
Obviously, did not work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out they had also attempted, before James, to lead away another 2-year-old boy. But the boy's mother had prevented them doing so.
Oof. I wonder if that mother knew how lucky she got on that moment. So
in court, the reason they were given an adult trial, and it's to do, with the age of criminal responsibility.
Yeah.
Is so, to quote, they were considered by the court to be capable of mischievous desecration and discretion, meaning an ability to act with criminal intent as they were mature enough to understand that they were doing something seriously wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, they beat, tortured, and sexually assaulted a 2-year-old boy. There's very little about that can be misinterpreted.
Yeah. So,
there's no shades of grey in that.
No, I know. The crime speaks for itself. So, Thompson was considered to have taken the lead role in the abduction, but Venables apparently actually initiated the idea of taking James to the railway line, and apparently Venables was the main
attacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Venables actually said later that James seemed to like him, holding his hand and allowing him to pick him up on the journey to the scene of his murder. Nice.
At least he doesn't have to walk there.
So the
solicitor... That whole sentence is problematic.
Yeah. The solicitor of Venables during the trial actually said that Thompson was one of the most frightening children he'd ever seen, and actually compared him to the Pied Piper.
Okay.
So luring children away.
Yeah. I mean, some kids are scarily charismatic. And if you put a little ill intent with a big smile and lots of charm,
and considering they're children,
there's a lot that you don't consider when people are strangely charming.
Yeah. So the prosecution were shown a number of exhibits during the trial, including a box of 27 bricks, a blood-stained stone, James's underpants, and the rusty iron bar, which was the thing that they dropped onto his head, the 10 kilogram. the pathologist spent 33 minutes just outlining the injuries that he had sustained, many of them to his legs, after he was stripped from the waist down. He'd also gotten brain damage, which was pretty extensive and included a hemorrhage as well.
Yeah, so he was dead either way.
Oh yeah. He could have been dead from the moment they dropped him on his head at the beginning, at the canal.
That's true, yeah.
So the boys, by the time the trial was finishing up, were 11. Were found guilty, obviously.
Shocking.
And they were found guilty on the 24th of November. And they are the youngest convicted murderers of the 20th century.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. They were actually given a minimum of 8 years.
Come again?
8 years. Minimum. Considering they...
0.8 years.
Yeah.
Not 0.8 decades.
Yeah. Yeah, which is pretty disgusting considering everything that they did to a child.
So they spend their childhood in lockup and then they get to leave at 19.
Oh, it's a roller coaster. The aftermath.
It's a roller coaster. Okay, here we go. I'm guessing that didn't happen.
So at the end of the trial, the judge actually lifted the restrictions that allowed the killers' names to be released. So they were allowed to be... The names were released to the public.
Yeah, they were allowed to be named.
Good old name and shame.
Love it.
So...
Yeah, that's a whole criminological punishment, scientific theory, reintegrative shaming.
Well, it didn't quite go that way. In this case, anyway.
Yay!
So, in July 1994, a man called Howard announced that the boys would be kept in custody for a minimum of 15 years, meaning that they would not be considered for release until February 2008, which would be about when they were 25. This did not happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, the boys were taught to conceal their real names and the crime they committed in the prison, because obviously they would be absolutely destroyed.
Completely?
Yeah. So in June 2001, so 7 years before they should have been released.
So only what? 8? How long had they been in there by then?
Minimum 8.
So 8 years in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They were given a 6-month review, and the parole board, it ruled that the boys were no longer a threat.
Come again?
Yeah.
Hold
to
up.
public safety, and that they could be released. As the minimum sentence had expired in February of that year.
No.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
They got released.
2 homicidal maniac boys released.
Yeah.
On a subjective technicality.
And they were given new identities and moved to secret locations under a witness protection style program. But that's not...
for witnesses!
Yeah, no, the murderers got that. So, that's not all.
Apologies for all of the listeners who just had to throw their headphones off.
It's fucked up.
Oh, so, my frustration's getting to me. Please continue.
The terms of their release included some of the following.
Oh.
They were not allowed to contact each other or James Bulger's family. And also they were not allowed to go anywhere near the place that they used to live or did the crime. A memorial garden was built in James's memory in the Sacred Heart Primary School in the hometown of Kirkby, which was supposed to be the primary school he was supposed to have attended, but never got to. Yeah.
That's deep.
In March of 2010, a call was made to England's Children's Commissioner to raise the age of criminal responsibility from
10.
They actually tried to raise it back up to 12, and she was like, no. So, good.
Good, yeah.
So, shortly before he was released in 2001, so the boys are 17 at this point, Venables continued... Right, there's 2 things.
Oh, here we go.
Obviously, there were 2 murderers.
Yeah.
1, prison kind of worked.
I'm guessing that's Venables.
No.
Thompson.
Thompson. He's the one who did most of the abduction stuff.
Okay. The Pied Piper.
Yeah.
The scariest boy alive.
Apparently. Even though he didn't do as much of the attacking and torture. Right?
Right.
He genuinely, he seems to have, like, actually...
turned things around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And as far as we're aware, there hasn't been, like, any trouble with him since he's been released. And he has not been back in jail, as far as I'm aware.
Nice.
Venables, on the other hand, oh my, I have some things to tell you.
This is stuff I don't know.
Yeah.
I love this.
Oh, he's got problems.
This woman is throwing me crazy eyes right now.
He's got issues, and he has been in and out of jail several times. So.
Okay.
And obviously, Venables was the person that did most of the attacks and torture on James.
No, I remember that.
So, shortly before his 2001 release, at 17, Venables was alleged to have had sex with a woman who worked at the prison where he was held. The female staff member obviously was suspended for sexual misconduct, and she got fired, obviously.
Excellent.
He didn't really get in trouble, though. So when he got released, so that was prior to his release.
Well, it's actually a point of intrigue that it's not actually I don't think it's actually a punishable offence for the prisoner to have sexual relations. I don't think. I think it's a punishable offence to have sex with inmates.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
but not the other way around.
Yeah, it's a very strange one. But can you imagine just even
thinking
having
about
sex with a guy that murdered a 2-year-old? Like, no
I don't
thanks.
want to think about having sex with a man. So
well, fair enough.
Thank
you.
You.
Fair. So when he was released,
post-shagging the officer.
Yes. So when he was released, he was living independently in March of 2002. Sometime after, he began a relationship with a woman who had a 5-year-old child.
Oh no!
What? It is not known
what happened to that 5-year-old.
Honestly, it's not known whether Venables had already started downloading child abuse images at the time of dating the woman. I'm going to take a second on that sentence.
I just need a minute. That's a problematic sentence. Just give me 2 seconds.
So he's a bit noncy. If you hadn't already gathered.
You hadn't already gathered from the whole, James Bulger case.
Yeah. He did like his noncy pictures, apparently.
Tell me one thing.
Yeah.
One thing. He was taught and told and encouraged not to share his past.
Oh yeah, he did not listen to that at all. But to be fair, the public.
So did she know?
I don't think so. But the thing is,
when I ask anybody I'm dating, is there anything I need to know?
Oh yeah, about that. There was a time when I was 10,
I used to be called Venable.
Might have murdered and tortured a 2-year-old. I'm over it now. It's fine.
It was a hiccup.
I've moved on.
Past. I've moved on.
Yeah, it's fine.
Made some bad decisions.
Had some sex with a guard. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You're safe. Yeah.
Safe,
so
though.
I know. It's a whole journey.
Oh god.
So he denies ever actually meeting this woman's child.
Did you remember that in Small Humans?
Yeah. So I'd also like to point out that the public, after they were released, obviously were furious, and would constantly, and I mean constantly, throughout the time that they were released, even to Thompson, who, I'm not saying he's a saint, but has been, more...
straight and narrow so far.
Would constantly stalk them both, find out where they lived, take pictures with them, which is a criminal offence, actually, if you to take the pictures of them, because they're under witness protection.
Mm-hmm.
And they would leak the locations and their names and their new identities, and they would post on, like, social media and stuff. So a lot of people went to prison for that kind of shit. So, in 2005, also, I'm just saying, the 2002 incident, don't think he got jailed for that.
What, the Nancy images?
Yeah.
Oh.
But in 2005, when he was 23, his probation officer met a different girlfriend he had, who was only 17. Yeah. And it is apparently that he had quite a number of young girlfriends. Nice. Great man. Great guy.
That is...
Yeah.
Oof.
It was also presumed that Venables had sort of a delayed adolescence, because obviously he was shoved into like an adult prison, basically. He had a whole adult trial. But you know what? I'm not feeling bad for the guy.
Do you know what I love? Adult prison. 2 10-year-old boys shows up. And nobody questions it.
Exactly.
You know exactly what they've done.
Yeah. Even though they're not allowed
to
say.
They have the news in prison.
Yeah.
They know exactly what these 2 boys have done.
They must have gotten shit. You know what? Boo-hoo.
I don't care, but I'm just saying, why bother trying to pretend that didn't happen?
Yeah. Even though they knew about his young girlfriends, they actually then decided to reduce his supervision. Because he's a sweet angel, clearly.
He's just trying to settle down and find a nice girl.
Yeah. By this point, Venables was excessively drinking, taking drugs, and downloading child abuse images. 3 months later, he was found with possession of cocaine, and then was given a curfew. Not jail. A curfew.
I mean, they've been treating him like a child this whole time. He deserves a bedtime. On
2 separate occasions, Venable himself confessed to friends who he actually was. Don't know how that went down.
Probably not great. Although considering the circles he ran in, I can't say people probably gave a fuck.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, he definitely didn't. So on June 21st, 2010, he's still out and about. Finally, he was charged with possession and distribution of indecent pictures of children. It was
the child abuse shit and not the drugs that got him in.
Yes. He at that point had downloaded 57 indecent images of children. He pleaded guilty. And to downloading and distributing the child porn, and was only sentenced 2 years jail time.
Yeah. We love that for him.
Later, when an officer arrived at his flat, Venables was found, so this was a different time, attempting to remove or destroy the hard drive of his computer with a knife. And he was also trying to use a tin opener as well on the hard drive.
Please tell me it was recovered.
So obviously that got the officer suspicious. And it was taken away for examination. And it led to the discovery of more child pornography, which included children as young as 2 being raped by adults, and the penetrative rape of 7 to 8-year-olds. What a great guy, like, standing citizen. So, he was obviously then let out again. For some reason.
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Pardon my language, but what the fuck?
On the 23rd of November 2017, he was once again arrested.
Oh my.
This time he ramped up his numbers though of the child porn. So again, it was on the child porn he was arrested. He was in possession, get ready for this shit, of
braced
392 category A images and videos of underage children, 148 category B, and 630 category C child pornography images and videos, was sentenced to only 3 years and 4 months in prison.
What a nice life must Venables be having, because I can't think of, God help, if Venables had been black.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
He'd be dead.
oh.
He'd be dead.
He would have been
Yeah.
lynched.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
could you imagine if he was or
No.
mixed or anything that
No.
wasn't
You could tell he's a straight
pure
white man.
British white man?
Yeah. But
like the one that kind of bleeds and it just pours out Union Jack.
I can't tell you if he's in prison right now or if he's out and about, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he was
I wouldn't
free.
be surprised if he's free, because if he got sentenced in, 2017?
That was the last time he was,
So 3.5 years would have put him out at
2020.
2020, yeah.
Yeah, so he probably is back out now.
And loads of people got dumped out early because of COVID.
That's true, yeah.
So chances are, before COVID, he was out and about.
Yeah.
So just think about it. He would have had a nice lockdown, looking at abuse images, and getting high.
Yeah.
And drinking.
And drunk, yeah.
How pleasant for him.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so he's probably out and about. Every time he'd be released, he would be given a new identity. Clearly didn't care about that. But, like I said, as far as I'm aware, Thompson has led a straight life since coming out of jail the first time, and has settled down. Out. Yeah, and apparently he's still under his new identity.
His first one.
Yeah,
as far as I'm aware. Who's on his 9th now.
So I'm just going to show you some pictures. Nothing gruesome, promise. So here we have the very
CCTV
famous,
footage.
infamous picture of them leading him away by the hand.
I'm just throwing the phone. It's fine.
So there.
Yes,
Look how small he is.
He's tiny.
He's so tiny.
He's baby.
That's Venables.
That's Crazy Boy.
Thompson.
Pied Piper.
Just go down. Shit.
Should have scrolled up to the top.
I did. With the down arrow. There is a picture of little James. Look at that face.
Look at that little smile.
That little toothy grin. Yeah.
Right, that's enough of that.
So, that was the case of James Bulger. And Venables, honestly, I hope you're listening to this. Go fuck yourself, please. And not children. Thompson, just keep being decent.
It's not a difficult request from people, really.
You'd think,
it's not like we're asking much. I mean, clearly we're asking too much, but...
Well, definitely Venables, yeah. Yeah, that one's just a bad egg. That one really is.
I don't think, given Venables' mano-a-mano interactions with the British crime services, that in fact he's going to be listening to a true crime podcast.
I bet he gets off of listening to people talking about that case. I bet he does.
Oh, probably, but why would he when he can just remember his own interactions?
Well, yeah, true.
And I imagine there's much more easier ways of finding out people's poor opinions of him than...
I bet he's like the main editor of the James Bulger Wikipedia page or some shit. Like, just reads it all the time. So I'm sorry, but something fucked up must have happened to him during his childhood. Clearly. But
I'm just saying, if we were in, like, some Texan county, he would have been, like, possessed by evil spirits!
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe so. But that was episode 11 of BB True Crime.
It was a good one. A little traumatizing.
Yeah.
But you're always traumatizing me, so it's fine.
You're welcome. So if you enjoyed this, keep listening, because we have more episodes to come.
I get to pick the next one. I'm excited. What did I pick?
Not number 12, but the rest of them afterwards. Yes, she does.
What?
No, this one's already been written, babe.
Audacity.
Your episodes at episode 13 are fine. So stay in tune for episode 12, which will be uploaded shortly.
Yeah, boys.
Right, well, peace out. We've been Beth and Becky.
True Crime. I am a Becky, and that is a Beth. And we are done for the evening. See you later, boys and girls.